Okay, so in this session we're going to continue with this part of the face of the fox. We've already started putting in the base layer, and we've also made a start round here as well. And the last session we added some more tonal value with this part so that you can see the depth and, you know, the dimension of the fox's face. So I'm just going to add in some of the sanguine a bit just around here, because for this part you can see on the actual reference photo that it's kind of like a ridge here, and this is the bit that actually goes underneath the fur because it's going to be darker. We still need to follow the direction of the fur, and then this bit here is going to go over. So I just wanted to, because we've got those guidelines here, this is going to be a bit darker, and we're using ever such a light pressure again. And just want to sort of just thinking out loud again. Just going to get a piece of scrap paper, just bear with me. Okay, just want to make sure that the pencil I'm going to use is actually going to complement and give that more of a brownie vibe. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to go with the Polychromos Raw Umber, because I just want to add, this is going to be the light brown, just want to add some brownish shading there. But it's also going to be light as well, and we're also going to just take out a sheet of paper and I can use it to scribble on. So like, you know, like this. Yeah, when I mentioned your swatch for your colours, if you haven't got any of these pencils and you're trying to blend a mixture of pencils together, then it's quite handy to sort of have like a swatch page with you for reference. Okay, so yeah, this is the Raw Umber. So we're going to follow the shape of the fur here. What we also want to do is, because it's going to have other slightly darker shades, so I'm going to use a combination of the burnt umber and the brownish beige with this as well. So I just want to get a bit of depth, and remember this part is the lighter part of the fur. So I'm just going to do it very lightly over to this part. So we're just going over the top part, whereas this bit goes underneath, so this part is over. Oh. So we'll just plot this colour going around like that, and just careful flicks around this part. So it kind of, yeah, there's like a step part there, so this bit is going to be darker underneath there. Now you can see the line there, but what we want to do is we want to make that more of a natural line. So I just want to make sure that we have this plotted in. so that we know roughly where the lighter overlayer is, so then we can continue doing the under part, and then we can do some more work on that part there. So you can see the edges of the fox, the fur is just going to flick out like that. Just want to make sure we've got that base layer down. Okay, we won't go too much further down than that because we just want to finish this area first. Okay, so so we're going to finish this area. So I am going to use, just going to try the luminance warm earth 40%. So that's going to be like a, if you haven't got that, light brown in your own selection. And if you get to this part, I think I mentioned it previously, if you want if you've got a different set of pencils and you want to know what the equivalent is in your set to this set, then you can always contact me, and then I can let you know either directly, or you can actually message on the group as well so that everyone can see it. Okay, so got that. So this part is looks quite round compared to this part, so it's sort of showing around the outside of the ear like that. And you know, we are doing, like I keep saying on each session, it's very light, so you're barely touching the paper, because then you can add more layers to it. Just going to add some more down here. Because we are having sort of gentle flicks out here. But just plotting these ones more than anything so that we can bring that part in together. Now this part's going to be showing, it's showing us as a slightly darker part. So these are really lovely creamy pencils, and what you'll get in some of the future boxes is that you'll probably get the odd occasional luminance pencil in with it, and you can sort of see how, you know, the different textures and the feel of it when you're actually using it on different surfaces. So we're going underneath, but we'll also go over the top, and then there's that subtraction technique as well. So we need to start making this a bit darker, just gently darker. So this is like the very base part of the ear. You can see that like on the edge in your like reference photo, and if you've got it on your screen as well. It's just all about building the layer in. And this bit underneath, although it's kind of like, it's darker and rounder, this bit underneath here is darker still, because that sort of gives you the three-dimensional effect. And see, although this gives like a different colour there to it does there, you can actually see the polychromos light brighter shades have come through to give it like a reddy browny colour. And we just want to ensure that it's darker underneath there. Just going to add a bit more there. Alright, and what I'm going to start doing is add the burnt umber on the polychromos pencil, and that's number 280. And if you haven't got one of those, then just use a dark brown in your packs that you have. And just gently layer in this darker colour over the top. Very dark, very lightly. There we go, just go in that way. And we're just building up around under here. And if you, so you've got like the eyebrow, you know, we call it like the kind of like the brow of the fox there, and then it's sort of, if you just notice that it goes in there, so it becomes, it's wider there, the dark bit, and then it sort of comes in a bit narrower, and then that's when you get more of a sweep over of the lighter colour. letting you go, you can just gradually see the dark colour just building up a bit more on there. And then we want to make this quite a natural blended in looking line. Just, there we go. We can just add that, add that in there. And got a line going over that way, but it's you can define the bit of fur because it's quite dark there, but also don't make it sort of too bold. It looks going to need to look a bit natural. So we don't want like any harsh lines. Just very sort of small flicks and straight. We don't want any sort of going backwards and forwards. So we've got to follow the line around here because kind of like it bulges out a bit there, and then what we want to do is blend it to give it some shape so that it actually just comes down like that, and then you can sort of see that it's reaches its roundness round there. And then starts to get a bit lighter. Oh, and just be careful, don't do that because you could end up marking your picture. So I'm going to try the cap at Mortem there. So this is in the, like the browny, burgundy kind of family of colours. Just gonna give it a bit of shape there. So we don't want that as a line as such. So it's because it's going to come under, but we're going to see it better like that bit, although that bit does need to be slightly changed, but we're going to build the colour up over that side once we've done everything else. I'm just going to make this slightly different shade around here. It's all about patience and building your layers up. And as you can see, we're getting a nice layer of colour here, but we're also getting shape as well. So yeah, the actual colour is coming out really well. If you haven't, I mean, I recommend getting a Caput Mortuum. They are, you know, it's a really nice shade. The Caput Mortuum Violet's really nice as well and can be used for different animals. I just want to add a bit more in there. Yeah. Okay, and then we're going to go so add a bit of definition there as well. So it just goes a bit darker as you go underneath the layers of fur. It'll come through slightly darker. And when you go with the actual shape of whatever it is that you're, you know, filling in the colour for, it really does add dimension. Whereas if you were just going to go like that, it's just going to end up looking flat. But because we're actually looking at the colour and going with the shape of the face, it just really does bring on the dimension of the, you know, the piece that you're working on. So let's have a look to see what I want to add. Just going to try the brownish beige, which you'll have in your box. Try and bring a bit of colour in that way. So although it's not something that's standing out a lot, you can see there is a colour going down. I'm just going to bring that bit under there as well, just to define that a bit more. Very lightly, and just flicking it so that it's got, it makes it have that more fluffy appearance on the outside. And just round there like that. Let's try to add a bit more of definition up here as well whilst we're using this pencil. That looks better. So when you're blending up from other colours, you're just mixing it in slightly like that, and then blending it carefully up like that. And so it's not just sudden like a stepping colour, you're just gradually bringing it through until it's ready to be on its own. Right, okay, let's go back to this part. Just wanted to add a little bit more over this part whilst I had this in my hand, and then just give it that a bit more definition there. Okay, right, just gonna add some bits here like that. Oh, if you can hear voices, it's my son in the next room. Oh. Just bear with me, I'm just going to get him to keep the noise down so that you can hear me better. Right. Sorry about that. Okay, right, let's get back to this. There. So there we go, we're adding over to the light, you know, the light bits that we've already added. We're adding in the beigeish brown. But we'll also add highlights a bit later on. And that's the bit there, that's the lighter part there. So you can see the different shade coming in. Like that. And if you just follow the fur around, and it's just like short, like tufts over this part. What I want to do is add a bit of the sanguine. Always having trouble with that one. I just want to build a bit more colour there. I'm going to use the subtraction technique, and then once we've added in the highlights and that, then we can go under a bit more and accentuate this part. I just add a bit more. It's going to be lighter contrast here, and then again around here. Okay, so let's go back to the brownish beige. Just adding some fur texture in on the top here. And there's going to be dark parts in here as well, like we've done for here, because you've got, I suppose it's like the root of the fur, and then which is darker, and then it sort of comes out sort of lighter towards the end. So you can sort of see with the direction there. You have like the darker bits, and then in between the darker bits you've got the lighter bits. So I'm just plotting the darker bits in at the moment, and then I'm gonna subtract the lighter bits in between them, and then I'm going to add, where's my, oh there it is, my watercolour. Okay, in a moment. I might start off doing it dry and then see where that takes us before I'm adding in the wet part. And if you find that you're running out of your watercolour pencil, then you could try like a gel pen, white gel pen, but just be very, very careful with it. I mean, like I know I've mentioned this in previous parts of this tutorial, is the fact that you don't have to have this perfect. It doesn't need to mirror what's on your reference photo, or even, you know, what I'm doing. It's just, you know, making sure that you can do the best that you can, doing the, you know, the fur, making sure that you're going in the right direction with, you know, with this, and, you know, just learning different techniques. And, you know, if everyone who's doing the fox tutorial was to post all of, you know, everyone posted their fox pictures, they're all going to be different, because everyone has a different style as well, different abilities and different styles. So some people will, you know, will either want to sort of do this exactly, someone will want to use this as a guideline, and then others will totally make it their own, and it'll come out totally different, and that's a good thing. No right or wrong with art. So we're going to define this part a bit more in a moment. I'm just plotting the outline, but it's just this part that we need to focus on. Okay, just looking to see what I want to add next. No, not that one for the moment. Just going to use the Tombow rubber, but you can use the edge of your rubber that's in your box. Just make sure the bit that you're going to use is clear, and just want to just flicks like that in the direction. I'm going to add some more colour in. Make sure the end is clear so that you don't sort of rub too much colour together, because it can become muddied. So you can see there I've added in the highlights. So what we can do now is we can actually go in underneath. So I am going to use the Venetian red, which is in your box, and I'm also going to use a brown in a moment, but I just want to come in, so not necessarily going over those lines, but coming in underneath. I'm actually going to use the burnt umber polychromos, because some of those parts underneath are quite dark, and that will give you the, you know, the impression that, let's just get rid of that pigment, that this is the bit that's going in, and you'll see like it is a different layer of fur. So this is where, like we did when we did what we did for the ear, when we sort of play around with the adding, subtracting, so that you can get definition. Because it does get, where are we? So we've got, just make sure I've plotted that right. Going down, and then there's a darker bit in there as well. And in down here as well. So we want to make sure that it looks like it's going underneath, and then you've got the lighter fur on top. Because what we're going to do as well, then we're going to add some more colour there. But I just want to sort of, as we've subtracted over the top, I just want to take the opportunity to bring in the colour underneath. And I'm just going to brush that out of the way. And so it It's just going to be a little bit darker under here, because we've got the lighter colours coming up. Just going to add a bit of the luminance warm earth 40% into that section. Because although it's lighter and fluffier, you can see that it's got a tinge to the fur. And then what it does then is it softens the edge so it's not so harsh. So obviously you've got to get your definition of the ear there, but you also don't want to define it too much because you need it to look fluffy. So let's have a look. Just need to clean this up a bit more. And then just some highlights in there. And we're just following the lines of the fur. Like that. Right. So we're just blending this part because it needs that fur-like appearance. And so you can actually get a really good effect using one of these Tombow razors, but you don't have to have one, but they're very good to have in your collection, you know, when you get round to it. So I just want to go in with the Venetian red again, and I just want to bring that a bit more in there. A bit more around there. So you can see it coming up and under. So then I want to use the brown umber, so the darker brown again, just to sort of build things up underneath, like that. And it sort of really does make a difference doing the subtraction technique. It just, you can get so much texture and detail by doing that. Just make sure you've got a dry brush with you so that you can get rid of any pigments so that it doesn't get smudged. Just gonna bring a bit more under that part because we want to see where the underneath part, you know, starts and ends. we don't necessarily want it to be like a straight line. But what we want is this part to define where there's like a ridge there, and so it's darker, this part. To be very light with the colour. And, but you can see already it's adding shape, sort of going in underneath, and it's because we've done the subtraction technique, and you can see the shape of it all. And again under here, and we're going in the shape, sorry, in the light, you know, with the direction of the fur. So it's, yeah, it's a really good technique to do. And yeah, you can see it will come in at different lengths. So just here is a really defined ridge of fur there. So we're doing a good job here, sort of defining that, showing that, you know, this is all underneath. And you can see that it's added more dimension around here as well. Okay, and then we did a bit here as well. So what I want to do is just very gently, so that we keep some of the highlights, but we just really want to define, because it's close at the roots, it's of the fur, it's darker, but then it suddenly sort of gets lighter. So although we've actually subtracted this part, what we want to do is just finally pick out bits of fur like that. And then it adds, you know, adds texture and layer to it. Just very gently pick out the fur line. And you can see the texture beginning to grow. But looking at it, we also need some of the some of the Venetian red. So I just want to make sure I've got a bit of a point on here. Might add some of the, probably the Caput Mortuum in a moment, but we need to sort of bring other colours in. Like that, because it's got, you can see it's got other colours in the reference photo as well, so you want to be picking that up and just building up colour, texture and layer. So for instance, we've got a bit around here. Like that. But we definitely want to yeah, pick it up, so it's not dark, but we want to pick up the fur texture a bit more on that. So we got a bit more around here, and I want to be adding a bit more subtraction around here, so I can go in between, well, we can go in between, you know, the fur and define bits around here as well. So it's got some darker bits at the base here. But we don't want to make that too red. We want to make that bit a bit browner. So I'm just going to build in some of the caput mortuum. Just going to put some in up here. So there we go, like that. And then what happens, you can see it's added in the appearance of fur. So then what we'll do is we'll go in and put some different colours at the base so that you can see like that. So don't fill in the white part, but you can see that it's actually fur going into the ear. And just need to make that stand out a bit more. Okay, we're going to add more colour in that part later on, towards the end, but you know, just want to make sure this bit is done as best it can be for the moment. So what it does, it adds tufts of fur, but then you've got that white highlight to it from where we done the subtraction part. And then let's just get rid of some of this. So you can sort of see it's really coming along nicely with the texture, the layering. And I know you may or may not want to just do this, draw along whilst you're watching the video, or some people like to watch the videos first or for each stage, and so that they know, they've got an idea of what's happening. Yeah, it's sort of a personal taste really, but it is advisable to sort of do the stages in order because it's kind of like we've brought it all across, and it'll give you some sort of structure. So I just want to add a bit more. So we've got that bit there. We want a bit more there because it's darker around there. You can see, although it, you know, it does look quite fiddly, but it's so effective doing it this way. Just bringing, you know, certain textures and just bringing it over. You know, and the good thing about this is if you're not happy with some of the texture that's going down, then you can just subtract it again, but there's only a certain amount of times that you can actually do that. So we've got, oh, hit the camera. So if you see just there, you've got like a bit going across, and it's darkish. So you want to make sure it, when you're adding bits, it's going in that direction because it's forming the shape of the brow. So this is coming along really nicely, you know, you can see it's all fitting together really well. So you can see it's lighter than it is in the middle there. But what we do need to do is we need to add, I'd probably say a bit of the dark brown again. So that's, I'm just gonna block that in again for the moment, because that's the eyelid. Yeah, so okay, that's fine. Bit of the sanguine. Just add a bit of that going across. We're gonna sort this part out once we start working around this part. But you can see why this, you know, takes a lot longer than you know you ordinarily think. I mean, this is only an A5 piece of paper, so you can imagine bigger pieces, you know, you've got to put the same amount of work in, but it's on a bigger surface. So those ones are actually really good, are really great to challenge you know, your skill set, and just, but it just works the same on a, you know, you're just increasing the area. And although they take longer, they do look amazing when they're on a bigger scale. So we're just going towards there. We don't want this part too dark, so I'm going to add, yeah, some of that sanguine again. Just actually want to make that slightly sharper, just a slight turn of the pencil sharpener. That's it. Okay, and I want that. We may be going in anyway, because it looks like we're going to need to go in a bit darker underneath anyway. And look how effective that's coming out already. I'd love to be able to see what you're all doing. If you're, you know, I've mentioned this before, if you're happy to share, it'd just be amazing just to sort of see a whole screen full of, you know, fox portraits, like a little exhibition of foxes. They look amazing. But yeah, don't feel pressured if you don't want to, but it would just look amazing at the end, just sort of see everyone's work. Just want to add a bit more that colour to it, but that definitely does need a bit of the darker brown to go underneath. Just go very careful to do it lightly. That part is quite darker there. It's just really looking at the colours and really looking about, you know, making sure that you can see the difference, but not actually like doing lines. It's really got to be as natural as you can make it. See, yeah, you can see that the ridge is starting to take shape. So we've got underneath, and then you can see the lighter part. Just gonna, do we need, just check in. I think I'll try the Luminance Terracotta. I'm just going to add a bit of lightness to it, just to see if that, see what that does. If not, I can always subtract it. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's all about sort of having a play around and seeing what works. Yeah, so we need to be defining this a bit more, I think, because it's, yeah, because it's like looking a bit flat. And we don't want that straight line there. So just make sure that the end of the rubber's clean. So we want like that. So even when you're subtracting, you can still see the undercolour. Yeah, that's it. That's taken the straight line out a bit better. And then what we'll do is we'll go in between with different colours to make it more defined. Don't go back into the trap of doing that like that line again. It's easily done. Yeah, that's looking much better. You can really see the different shape of the fur coming through. And then you can get some like tufts in there, because you can see it's quite a bit of a tuft. But you can actually define it with, just wondering whether this warmer 40% would actually give me some bits of texture in it. So it gives it a bit of depth and richness. Yeah. So this is going really well. It's looking really good, if I do say so myself. I'm really pleased with how this is going. It's a bit of the dark brown, which is the brown umber, and that's it, just work on that bit again. So we've got around here, it's actually quite a bit darker around here as well, so let me just, hang on, there we go. So from there we want just short bits like that. And then I'm just going to add some of the brown umber in around here, and just, yeah, it's just around this part. And just bear in mind the direction of the fur again. And whenever we're subtracting, we need to go in the direction of the fur, that whilst we are doing the subtraction, because we're going to start adding again in the same direction as well. And the fur lines are very short around here. So there is a darker part around here. And then around there. So we've got like sort of slightly deeper pockets of fur. And when you accentuate that, it actually brings it out. It brings it out more, and then it sort of, you can sort of see a more of a depth to it. But yeah, I'm pleased with how this is going so far. So in the next tutorial, what we'll do is we will start working in around here and blending that in together into it. So there's like a slight step there, and we're going to start blending that part in together. So yeah, any questions of what we're doing so far? If you need any help with the different types of pencils, and so for instance if you've got a different brand, then let me know and I can tell you what is the nearest colour to it. But we'll see you in the next video.